Hey there, Wastelander, and welcome to Fallout on Tabletop. Today we'll be taking a look at the new Fallout Factions Crew Folio by Modiphius. If you have pre-ordered this already, you have had access to the PDF for a little bit. They made some updates in the meantime, but now this should be available in stores or online, at least the physical copy. So today we'll look through the physical copy and look through all the new things that it does add to Fallout Factions. It is heavy on the crew part, as noted on the book. It is really focusing on adding new options to existing crews, like subfactions for the Brotherhood of Steel, Survivors, Wasteland Raiders, and Super Mutants. It does update the 3 original Raider gangs from the Nuka-World starter set and adds a few more gangs and crews, as well as perks and companions. You do still need the core rulebook, as well as the core rulebook does actually have all the rules that you need to play the game, whereas the crew folio is more of like a supplement or add-on. So you can continue to play Fallout Factions with just the contents of the core rulebook, but if you want a lot more options for both existing games or brand new games, the crew folio is definitely something to be interested in. So if you are maybe on the fence about it or are looking into Fallout Factions, but think that the maybe core rulebook factions, which there are only 4, is a little bit limiting, then this video is for you. So you can go ahead and stick around for the rest of the video in the diving into the crew folio itself. And if you are interested in more Fallout Factions content, you can like and subscribe for those. Otherwise, let's take a look at the book. All right, so here we have the Fallout Factions Crew Folio in physical form. You can get this also as a PDF, but here we have the physical copy. It is hardback, just like the Fallout Factions rulebook. You can see they have like a similar kind of style with people fighting it out on the front, although a bit more dynamic battle scene, I guess you can say, on the crew folio with the Children of Adam and the Gunners going out here, which are new factions in the book. You can see it's a little bit bigger than the core rule book, but not much. And it also has here just a brief look at what we'll find inside with information on the Control and Reach campaigns, new quest lines for those factions in the core rulebook, new sub-factions for those core factions, updated lists for the Disciples operators in the pack that are in the Nuka-World starter set booklet, updated crew list for the Gunners, Cult of the Mothman, Aliens, Children of Adam, Trappers, and the ones by the Mechanist, which is the Automatrons. You have rules to recruit robots and creature companions, as well as new Legends of the Wasteland. So, as it does say here, you still need the Fallout Factions rulebook in order to get the full use out of this book. One, the main reason, I guess you could say, is that this book does not contain any rules for how to play a game. So, in order to actually play a game, you do need the core rulebook, and it does have not as much for the campaigns as the core rulebook or the Nuka-World campaign book, and it does also go through it, but it has a little bit less perks that you can upgrade your models with than in the core book. So you will need that still in order to get the full use of this, as we'll also see with the sub-factions. You also need the core rulebook for that. So taking a look here, we have a bigger breakdown of what we can find in our table of contents. As you can see, there's a lot of content. Continuing to see a lot of content that will be here. And so then they just have a brief kind of intro with what's in the book and what to kind of expect. Here we can see more information on the reach and control campaigns. The reach campaign, if you're unaware, is just in the core rulebook, and you are just kind of playing out games and having your crew kind of control or have a certain amount of reach in this unspecified location, whereas control campaigns are like the one in the Nuka-World starter set where you will control actual parts of Nuka-World and fight over that. So here we just have information for like the control quest lines for the Brotherhood, and you have different options as well as for the super mutants, survivors, and the Wasteland Raiders. All of these are in the core rulebook, so it's just adding their specific quest lines if you do want to play any of these factions in a control game in Nuka-World. That's really all you have, because in the core rulebook you do have the reach campaign information for those factions already. And so when we get to some of the newer factions, they'll already have like this information included. So this is only included here for these core factions because it wasn't in the core rulebook. Next up, a big new addition here is the subfactions. The subfactions, they'll give just a brief detail here about them. And the subfactions are only compatible with the core rulebook factions, that being the Brotherhood of Steel, Wasteland Raiders, Survivors, and Super Mutants. And so all the other factions that may go over, or even like with the Operators Pack and Disciples, they don't have subfactions because they're already pretty specific. So with the subfactions, you'll have 4 subfactions for each of the 4 main factions from the core rulebook. And so you can see that it's pretty limited as to what is included for the subfactions, and that's because you do need the kind of full list and everything included in the core rulebook. So not only do you need the core rulebook for the rules of the game, but you need that for like the full list for these factions. And then the subfactions typically add or subtract different crews, weapons, and here you can see the ploys that are specific not only to the core faction, but I guess you could also say to the subfaction. So for the Brotherhood, we'll look at briefly look at what they have to offer. So you have the Brotherhood 1st Expeditionary Force. This is, if you are familiar with Fallout 76, this is the Brotherhood presence there. And so you can see first up by the changes that they do. So you'll change the weapons, the minigun weapon set on the Paladin, which is typically your leader in a Brotherhood force. And you'll also take out the laser pistol and machete weapon set on the Knight. And then you add these 2 options to them instead. So you're not taking any of these out. You can still use a Paladin and several Knights in your Brotherhood Expeditionary Force. But instead of those weapon options, they have the laser pistol and warglaive, which are specific in the Fallout 76 game. And then you can also see that we've swapped some weapon options, but now we've also removed the aspirant from the faction list, and then we're adding a different grunt. And so the aspirant's kind of more of an elite, non-power armored grunt for the Brotherhood. Whereas like here, the hopeful, looking at their stats briefly, are going to be kind of a lower level grunt. So you might be able to basically spam a bit more of them, especially looking at their weapon sets over here, with the hand weapon being only 8 points, so a bit cheaper. And then lastly, you can see that you'll remove one of their ploys. So you'll still have 2, but you'll replace that with the Steel Dawn ploy. So we'll keep looking at all of the subfactions, but that is really kind of laying the groundwork for what to expect with these. That you'll have some changes to weapons. You might remove a grunt or even change out your champions. And then sometimes you'll add a different grunt or champion. They'll include several different weapon options. And then you'll also replace one of the two standard ploys for that faction with a different one that's kind of more in theme with that subfaction. Next up, we have the Lion's Brotherhood, and this is from Fallout 3, if you've played that as well. So again, just changing out some weapons in the night. You're removing the Paladin, which is your leader, and having a scribe instead. But then that means you can still have your knight with a Gatling laser if you want that in your force. So your scribes are going to be leading a bunch of knights with big weapons. At least that's an option. And you'll get your different ploy over here as well. And then you have the Brotherhood Outcasts, which are also a faction in Fallout 3. And so in this one, unlike the Lion's Brotherhood and the Expeditionary Force, you keep your Paladin and Knight, but you'll also add a Defender at the cost of Initiate, which the Defender also has power armor. So you have more options for power armor in this subfaction. So you can kind of see like this one is going to have a little bit more bodies in your force with these low-level hopefuls. The Lion's Brotherhood will have some kind of not as tough champions, but you'll have a lot of knight options with those big heavy weapons. The Brotherhood Outcasts will have a lot more power armor with the fact that they have two different grunts with that option. And lastly, we have the Brotherhood Recon Squad. And this one is shaking it up a lot more as you're removing all of the power armor from the list, getting rid of that Paladin and Knight, and instead you're having your Knight Captain and Knight Journeyman who do not have power armor, but you get some cool like silenced 10mm pistols and hunting rifles, precision combat rifles. So an elite force of non-power armored models rounds out the Brotherhood subfactions. Next, we have the super mutant subfactions. And similar to the Brotherhood, we start in Appalachia with the Fallout 76 inspired super mutant subfaction. Again, changing up some of the weapon types here in like the Brute, which is a grunt. You'll remove the Enforcer grunt and you'll add the Floater, which is like a little weird kind of alien monster thing that floats around, obviously, hence the name. And you get like weapon profiles for that as well as your ploy. Then we'll move on to the Capital Wasteland Super Mutants from Fallout 3. And similar to some that we've seen for the Brotherhood, you get to add a different model, except the Centaur here does also come with the stipulation that no matter what tier your crew is at, you can only ever have one Centaur in your crew. And the Centaur doesn't replace anything, it just adds that option. You do get to remove your Hound, though, to add puny humans, which are pretty puny based off their stats. And you'll also get your different ploy up here with Quick Snack. So similar to what we've seen with the Brotherhood, where you'll sub out a different model for a new one. But unlike that, where you'll just be adding the Centaur as a completely different option, but you are limited with how many you can have. Next up, we have the Commonwealth Super Mutants, and the big change or big difference is that by removing the Skirmisher grunt from there, you can add the Suicider, famous in Fallout 4 for running at you with a mini nuke, and hopefully for your opponent, they won't be able to shoot it before it can go kaboom in their face. Next up, we have the Black Mountain subfaction. This is from Fallout New Vegas, actually. And you have representing that vibe is with the Nightkin. They're the super mutants that make heavy use of the stealth boys, much to the cost of their already deteriorating mental health. But that stealth boy is pretty cool. Lets them get up close with the sledgehammer or incinerator option that they can have. And just like we saw before, you can add a centaur if you wish. And just like before, you are only limited to one no matter what tier you have. You can see those are different model options for the centaur that Modiphius has available. That's all we have then for the super mutants, because we do have 4 per sub core faction. So getting on to the survivors, we have the Diamond City Security. Diamond City, of course, being from Fallout 4. If you really like baseball and or the baseball grenade in the game, this subfaction is going to be heavily based off the baseball grenade, with a lot more models being able to take it, and even your ploy focusing on that as well. So you just kind of swap out a different model for here the bench warmer, and you can see getting those baseball grenades. So you'll have a lot of area weaponry to toss at your opponent with that. Next up, we have the ghouls. It's just turning basically all your survivalists into ghouls, giving them rad resistant. You can still have the good boy or the dog, so don't worry on that. But otherwise, a lot of the same things that you get with the core survivor faction. Next up, if you were wanting to play the survivors instead of the Brotherhood, but really want power armor, you can take the Atom Cats. They are a small group of individuals in Fallout 4 that are taking and kind of upgrading and updating some power armor with cool like flame and red decals and everything. So you can put them on the tabletop as well here. So you'll have different champions and grunts, both with power armor. So basically a kind of offshoot or a different variety of the core Brotherhood faction is they have power armor, but it's not going to be as good as the Brotherhoods. But that means you could probably get a little bit more in your list than a Brotherhood faction could. Lastly, for the survivalists, we have the Wasteland Caravan. This is really in all of the Fallouts except especially in Fallout 4, where you typically see them all wandering around the wasteland and with their sturdy pack Brahmin. And you can get caravan guards that have a little bit different weaponry as well. And so that represents just your crew going around the wasteland to trade, but also being able to defend itself. Next up, we have the Wasteland Raider subfactions. The first one here, we have the Forged, and they are in Fallout 4 in the Sawjisk Ironworks. There's a quick little quest line and everything that you can go to clear them out or fight against them. But in Fallout Factions, you can actually play them as your own crew. They have different champion options as well as a volunteer grunt that is not very good, but represents kind of also with the quest line. You can see like the volunteer, at least in Fallout 4, that they're trying to get anybody can join as long as they're prove themselves, or if not, they kind of don't care. So that's the kind of look or feel to this Raider faction. Still can get your models with power armor, just add different non-power armored champions and grunts. Then we have the Packmaster, which isn't really in, I guess you could say, any specific Fallout, but I guess it is similar to the pack in Fallout 4 Nuka-World, but unlike the pack, this is more heavily reliant on animal companions with the trained dog and the stupid mutt. So you're going to be replacing some of your models with dogs, so you can get a lot of four-legged friends in this Raider list. Then we have 2 smaller kind of factions available Here we have the Vipers, who are in Fallout New Vegas as like a kind of just minor raider gang that you see occasionally on the road. They don't really add any different ploys or any different options other than the fact that they change out some of their special rules on your champion models. Last up for their subfaction, we have the Cons, who are also from New Vegas, and they get to add a different champion at the cost of the Butcher champion from the regular list with some different weapon sets, and they do have their own ploy, like unlike the Vipers. So there we have a brief look at all of the subfactions for our core factions. You have your different weapons that they listed here for those as well, and just some artwork. Now we have our gangs of Nuka-World. This is updating the gang lists that we saw in the Nuka-World starter set just for the operators, the pack, and the disciples. They do note that this is good for campaign play as well up there. So you have basically the same lists for all three of these factions. And so they do like officially put in the sprint ability, as that wasn't originally in the Nuka-World starter set booklet, but was added later as an FAQ. Most of the weapons are the same points wise as well. So you have your leader, your champion, and your 3 levels of grunts. They've updated the crew limit table as well, because they used to be able to have up to like 7 champions at tier 3, but now they've made it more in line with some of the other factions. And then you have your weapons, ploys, and because this is updated for both the Nuka-World campaign book and the Reach book as well, so Reach and Control campaigns, you've got your Reach quest lines in here like we saw in the front of the book for the other core factions, but then we have our Control quest lines as well, training tables, and now we get to operators. Same thing. A lot of it has stayed the same. You know, you still get the shish kebab on your boss. They can still take a lot of combat rifles on their scabbers. Similar table now to everybody else. And again, you'll get the weapons, ploys, the Reach quest lines, which you'll get 3 different options. You'll also get Control quest lines with 3 different options at the 3 different tiers, and a training table. And then we also get to the disciples, and same thing, kind of bigger changes. The plasma rifle went from a champion upgrade to now it's on your leader, but a number of models now get hand weapons added. So before it just had like syringer, but now it has syringer and hand weapon. The kit comes with a lot of extra weapons, and well, they're the disciples. They're known for their knives and knife work, so it makes sense that a lot of them just have hand weapons at the ready. And just like we've seen, you know, you've got your weapon list, ploys, you've got your Reach quest lines, which there are 3 of them. You got your 3 Control quest lines, and your training table as well. Next up, we have the gangs of the Wasteland. These are new complete lists for these. They're not like the subfactions where you need like a different supplemental material. They're going to be similar to the Nuka-World gangs, where everything's going to be included. They do note that these ones for the gangs of the Wasteland are only for campaign play, but if you're in an area, I guess, with a lot of competitive play, technically from Modiphius, these aren't for competitive play, but I'm sure tournaments may vary near you. So keep that in mind. But with the gunners, pretty unique thing right off the bat. They can actually have 2 different options for your leader. You can still only take 1 leader, but you can basically take one with power armor, just in case to represent maybe a more well-funded outfit of gunners, or you can just take your standard gunner without power armor. Then you have your champion, and they actually get to, as one of their grunts, they have an Assaultron, which is pretty cool. So you can mix up some regular humans with an Assaultron, and you can have your leader in a power armor to have a pretty dynamic looking force. You also have your weapons, just like all the other factions list out, but unlike other factions that we've seen in this book or in the core rulebook, the gunners have resource points instead of ploys, and so basically they can add different things depending on their tier, like radio beacons, walls, turrets, large walls, minefields. They can forward deploy or add rad barrels and radiation tokens. So a little bit different options and play style than what we've seen so far in Fallout Factions. Just like all the other factions too, though, we've got our different reach quest lines, which we have 3 of those. We have our control quest lines, which we also have 3, and our training table, as well as captives for the reach campaign or control campaign for that. The captive table for the other factions are in the core rulebook. Now we have the followers of the Winged One or Cult of the Mothman, as seen in Fallout 76. The gunners being, one that's basically in every Fallout iteration. With the followers of the Winged One here, you can see where the Cult of the Mothman, you can see why, because here we have a Mothman model, and you can represent that with a Holy Mothman champion, your faction being led by a priest. So you have a lot of different rules for this guy that are pretty interesting. But if you wanted more Mothmen, you can have some hatchlings as well. So you can have quite a few of them flying around, which they do have fly, which is maybe a new mechanic if you've been playing with the core rulebook factions for a while. But you get your non-moth champion and some other non-moth grunts as well. Just like a lot of the other factions, except for the gunners, you do have ploys instead. And then you do, just like we've been seeing so far, you have your reach quest lines, which again, 3 of them. You have your control quest lines, which again, you have 3 of them. Your training table and your story action with captives as well. Next up, we have the Zetans or Zetans, however you want to pronounce it. And just like we've seen before, you have your commanders, champions, and different grunts, as well as your weapon details, ploys, your 3 different reach quest lines with the 3 different tiers. You have your 3 control quest lines. You have your training table, and you have your captive table as well. Zetans being something more in Fallout 3, but a little bit in Fallout 4 and some other Fallouts as well. Next up, we have the Children of Adam, who are all seen in a number of different Fallouts as well. A lot in the Fallout 4 DLC Far Harbor, but this is just representing kind of a general group of Children of Adam, where you have the Prophets, Crusader champions, and then you have an Evangelist champion, as well as 2 different grunts. You can see here pictures of those. So if you have played Fallout 4 Far Harbor, these are like the Zealot or Crusader. They're like more heavily armored, as you can see, compared to your standard Child of Adam. You have your, just like we've kept seeing before, all your weapons, ploys, the different reach quest lines, which there are 3 of them, and control quest lines, training table, and story actions for captives. Next up, we have the Trappers, similar to the Children of Adam, at least model-wise. The Trappers are from the Fallout 4 DLC Far Harbor, and so you can see that they have that island kind of fishing theme with the lobster helmet, or lobster trap helmet. And then they can also take the cool different types of harpoon guns on their leader, but some of the other models can have harpoon guns as well, which are pretty cool. You get, pretty standard leader, champion, and 3 different grunts. They also have their weapons, ploys, 3 different reach quest lines, 3 different control quest lines, training table, and of course their story action for captives, which none of them seem good for the captive. Then the last one here, we have the automatrons led by the mechanist, which the mechanist is, I guess you could say, a named character, but he is always going to be the leader of your machines. Then you can have like assaultrons instead of as a grunt like the gunners. You can have that as a champion. Then you have the robo brain and the all too common, or at least in the Fallout world, Mr. Handy, Protectron, and the iBots that can round out your force. You've got your weapons, ploys, your different reach quest lines as we've seen before, control quest lines. They have their training table still, and they have different story actions, but they have like a different unique training table in perk models. So basically, because they're robots, they can upgrade a bit differently than living, breathing things in the game. And that completes all of our new factions or updated factions and subfactions in the crew folio, which is a lot. Easily adding triple the amount of crews and factions that you can now play in the game with between the subfactions, updated and completely new ones. Next up here, we have some companion options. This is a perk you can take, either the Roboteer or the Creature Tamer, depending on which one you want to take. You take that on a champion at the start of your crew creation. And, well, if you take the Robot one, you can have things like iBots, Mr. Frothy, and the Nukatron from Nuka-World. You can also have a Protectron or Mr. Handy and the Securitrons, as seen in Fallout New Vegas. If you take the Creature Companion, you have things like all the way from the lowly Bloatfly to a Deathclaw. You can have some Yao Gai and some more mongrels, or, basically dogs. Radstags even, should you be so inclined. So if you are coming from the Fallout Wasteland Warfare game at all, and you have just a bunch of these creatures or robots lying around, well, this is a way you can add them to your force, even if you're not playing, the specific robot crew. Next up, we have our Legends of the Wasteland. These are basically your named or special characters that you see throughout the Fallout video games. The Rogue Knight, this is actually a model that you got if you pre-ordered this book, so it's not really a named character that you run into in the games. It's just a cool model with some neat rules for use in game. You've got the Pack Hounds from the Pack from Nuka-World, William Black from the Operators in Nuka-World, Dixie from the Disciples in Nuka-World, Old Longfellow from the Fallout 4 Far Harbor DLC. You got Bilge, High Confessor Tectus, and Grand Zealot Richter, who are also all from the Far Harbor DLC. These two being from the Children of Adam, and Bilge being a Trapper special character. Then we just have some of the more bookkeeping stuff. Here we have the appendix with some FAQs on various things that they apparently need to just put in front of your face rather than like something you download off the internet. We have our Weapons of the Wasteland, like we've seen in all of our previous books, where it has all of the different weapons that are available from all of the models that we've seen so far from the melee ones, and it has like their upgrade options as well that we've seen in both of the Nuka-World and core rulebook. And we have our pistols, lots of pistols, rifles, and more rifles, and even more rifles, followed by some of our heavy weapons, grenades, and now we have just our critical effects and weapon traits. So from the weapons that we just saw, all these different critical effects, what they exactly do, and the weapon traits for all of those as well, just summarized here. And then we have perks. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this dive here, you don't have as many perks as you do in the core rulebook, and these are all the same as we have in the core rulebook. So if you have that, these are added. There are some different ones, but based off like the automatron individuals, so like they have their own different upgrades that they can have. The companion perk for take, like that's technically is a perk that you can take, and you can only take one per model because you can only add those companions at one time. Have your innate perks listed, which keeps going for much of the rest of the book. And there we have it. That is everything in the new Fallout Factions Crew Folio. Adds quite a bit more to the game. Again, as we saw from looking through it, it's really the main appeal of this and why you should buy it is if you've been playing some of the other factions in the core rulebook and maybe want to change up, like if you've been playing Brotherhood of Steel but really want to play like a little bit more heavy weapons, you could take the Lions Brotherhood. If you have been playing a little bit more of Fallout 76, you might want to take the Appalachian super mutants, so you can get the floaters who can like kind of blow up in people's face if they get too hurt. You can always take like the Diamond City security guards and just start chucking baseball grenades at people and beating them with baseball bats. And so got lots of different options for the old crews, the updates with the Nuka-World ones, plus all new factions as well. So a lot to offer in this book. All right, and so there we had a look at the contents of the crew folio. Was quite a bit to get through with all the new stuff that is offered up for Fallout Factions now at this time. And so hopefully it's maybe convince you to get into the game, or maybe get back into the game if you had recently or previously just gotten like the Nuka-World starter set or maybe one of the other core factions. In another video, we'll look at like the subfactions and how you can like actually get them onto the tabletop. As with some of them, you'll need some new models that aren't available in the plastic kits that we have gone over, but that will be another video for another time, which if you are interested in those videos or other Fallout Factions related videos, you can like and subscribe. There are some affiliate links down below if you want to start picking up the rule books that you need for this game as well. And otherwise, hope to see you next time.